we'll have Justice Turner.
All right. First, thank you, Jamila, for bringing us all here today. Thank you to your church for hosting us. Definitely appreciate that. And hopefully we can come back next year when the construction's done, see it in all its glory. But I am Justice Turner. I'm here to talk about personal injury law. That's what I do. If you're wondering what is personal injury, you can just call us the billboard attorneys. You see them everywhere on the highways. That's what we do. There's a slight distinction, and I'll get into that in a little bit. But the first question people always ask me is that your real name? And it's like, yes, Justice is my real name. My mom's here, she can tell you, she named me. So, but yes, so personal injury law is, it's interesting. I'm gonna step in front of this really quick, but personal injury it's an interesting part of law because it's not just what you see and you think of, oh, it's a car accident. It's also slip and falls, trip and falls. Anytime you get injured, that's what personal injury law is. So I'm gonna go over the basics of what a personal injury lawsuit looks like. I'm gonna go through the process of how long that takes and the steps through that, and then I'm gonna spend a little bit of time talking about Uber and what Uber does and what they're trying to do right now. Because I think it's really important for consumers, also for attorneys, and just so everyone is informed about your options, your choices, and kind of all the publicity that's on that right now. So in general, personal injury lawsuits occur when someone is injured. So if you get in a car accident, or a family member gets in a car accident, or you slip in a grocery store, or you trip on a sidewalk, things like that, and you get injured, you need someone to fight or advocate for you on your behalf. Generally, the important thing is to, one, get an attorney because they can see through the issues, they know the best ways to advocate on your behalf to get you some relief, some type of help. And the next thing is to remember that there is a ticking clock. So overall, generally when you get injured, it's a 2-year statute of limitations. So that means you have 2 years to file your lawsuit. But there are some caveats, and an important one is if it's against a governmental entity. That means if you're suing or your accident happened as a result of LAPD or the city of Los Angeles or the county of Los Angeles or the state of California, then you only have 6 months to file a government tort claim. And so that's important because you think, oh, I have 2 years and I'm gonna wait and see if these injuries resolve. And by the time you really think, okay, my back is still hurting, and it's 9 months later, and now you can't even file your claim against the city. So it's important to try to get an attorney as soon as possible and file your claim. If you want to try to do it yourself, go ahead, but just remember there is a ticking clock, so do your research, make sure that you're within the statute of limitations so you don't miss your opportunity, all right? The next important thing when it comes to personal injury law, just like Crystal said, you need evidence. So if you trip and fall on a sidewalk, take a picture of where you fell. Maybe even do a video of, okay, this is where I was going, this is what I was looking at, and this is how the incident happened. If you're in a car accident, take a picture of the damage to your vehicle, the damage to the other person's vehicle. Take a picture of their information. Make sure you just have all the evidence you need to give it to your attorney or to present it to a judge later on so that there's no question of what happened that day or how light it was outside or what time this happened or where you were. Because all that's gonna come up later, and so if you have your story straight and you know what happened, you're in a much better position than you would be if you didn't have it, okay? Next, moving on to what happens when you are injured. Like, what's the process of a personal injury lawsuit? So generally, you want to try to find your attorney as soon as possible, like I said, and you enter what's called the pre-litigation phase. So that's when your attorney or you send a demand letter or send some type of correspondence to either the other person that hurt you or their insurance company, whatever it may be. And this is before you actually go to court and file the lawsuit. You try to resolve it on your own. And the reason you try to do that is because generally, when you file your lawsuit, civil litigation is a long and winding process. So if you're in court, it could take 3 to 5 years from the date that you file your lawsuit to actually get it resolved. And so people are thinking, okay, I just got in a car accident yesterday, I should be getting a check in like 6 months. It's like, no, that does not happen, like rarely ever. So be patient, please, because it's a process. And I have clients call me all the time, hey, so when is this winding up? It's like, we just getting started, okay? I got a lot more work to do. So if you want, that fast, quick money, that's what the insurance company is gonna offer you right after you get in that car accident. They're gonna say, oh, here, you got in an accident, your back hurts a little bit, okay, here, take $2,000 and leave. Just sign this paperwork, leave. And it's like, okay, cool, you're gonna be really happy with that $2,000 because it's Christmas time and now you get a little extra money to get some gifts, but then in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 6 months, when you're still in pain, you're like, okay, now what do I do? And you have to worry about, is my insurance gonna cover this? Who's gonna pay for this? And so that's where attorneys step in and we say, okay, you're in pain, let's not listen to what the insurance company says, we're gonna get you into treatment, make sure you feel better, get you to a point where you have some type of relief, and then now that we know what actually happened to you, the full extent of your injuries, now we can actually tell the insurance company, no, not 2,000, more like 200,000 or 250, whatever it can result in. So we want to make sure that you are well taken care of. We want to make sure that you don't settle for the pennies that the insurance company is going to try to give you. Okay. After we go through that demand and the insurance company says, no, you're not really ready. We don't want to pay you that much. And we say, okay, we'll file the lawsuit then. And so we make sure we file the lawsuit within that 2-year or 6-month statute of limitations, and then we start what's called the discovery phase. In the discovery phase, it's gonna feel really invasive because they're gonna ask a lot of questions about you in writing or orally through a deposition. And we're gonna do the same thing as your attorneys. We're gonna ask the same questions of the defendant or the insurance company and say, who are you? Why did you do this? Let's figure out the facts of the accident. And that discovery phase can take 6 months, a year, year and a half, just depending on the process that we're going through. After that, we try to set what's called a mediation. At a mediation, you're able to come with a neutral party and say, all right, this side says they want $500,000. The insurance company is saying, okay, we want to give you $50,000. And so the mediator comes in and says, okay, let me see the value of this case that I think it is, and I'll tell you what a good result would be. And in that way, you kind of get to avoid the litigation, you get to avoid going to the trial where you have the judge or the jury that tells you, all right, this is what your life is worth, or this is what your pain is worth. So you kind of take that out of their hands and you get to say, this is what I'll accept and this is where this is gonna end. And that generally allows that case or that matter to resolve a lot quicker. So if you take that mediation and you go settle your case, you don't have to wait that full 3 to 5 years to get a jury or a judge to say, okay, this is what you deserve and this is what you're gonna get. So again, I also recommend, as Crystal said, for all my clients to try to settle. Now, if the insurance company is just not budging, or the city or the county is saying, no, we're just not gonna pay you, you might have to go to trial, and you might have to put your life or whatever you're trying to get in the hands of a judge or a jury. But if that's the only option, that's the way you have to go. And at different firms, you have different levels of success with that. So maybe at a certain firm, they say, listen, we don't like to go to trial, so we'll send you to this other firm who really does that trial work. So don't be afraid of that. That does happen occasionally. Once you get past the mediation phase, prepare your discovery, you prepare all your evidence, and you do get to that trial phase where you present everything to a judge, to a jury, and plead your case. Generally, in this point, if you haven't had an attorney before, you really want an attorney here because they know how to talk to the judge, they know how to talk to a jury, they know how to present evidence in a way where it will not get thrown out. So it's really important to have someone there that can advocate for you, that can tell your story even better than you could, okay? And so generally, after that, you're able to get some type of resolution, whether it's in your favor or not. At the trial, that's when the case is over, all right? And generally, you're able to walk away with at least something, whether it be through mediation or through a trial process, okay? And so that's generally how it works. Again, 3 to 5 years is normal, so don't get upset when your attorney says, just give me more time, just wait a little bit longer, okay? Because that's generally how the process works. Now to switch gears a little bit, you've probably seen on commercials Uber saying, hey, we have this new ballot initiative where we're gonna help you, we're gonna take money out of the attorney's hands, we're gonna give it to you. And what they're doing right there is lying. I'm just gonna be honest, all right? What they're trying to do is cap attorney's fees and cap how much that they have to pay in incidents where their driver or their passengers are injured or injure someone else. And so generally, right now, Uber has an insurance policy of $1 million. So if you get in an incident, car accident where Uber is involved, whether they were a driver or they hit someone, so if you're a passenger in their car or if you were hit by that Uber driver in a different car, they have that policy. And it's a little technical because it depends on what phase you're in with Uber, whether they're picking up a passenger or already have a passenger. But generally, there's a $1 million policy. And what they're trying to do is lower that so that there is no $1 million cap that they have, but it's lowered to maybe $100,000 or $50,000 that they have to pay out. And not only that, but they're trying to cap the attorney's fees that you can give your attorney after that. And you might think, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I don't want my attorney taking all my money from my settlement. And yeah, that's great in theory, but what it turns into is your attorneys don't want to take those cases if they're only going to get like $3,000 from $2 million cases. Like, this just doesn't make sense for business. And so what a lot of plaintiffs' lawyers do is we're on a contingency basis. So that means we don't make any money until the case fully resolves. So the incentive for a plaintiff's attorney to take the case is saying, okay, I'm gonna get this payout at the end, but between now and then, I'm gonna pay for all the medical bills, I'm gonna pay for all the costs, I'm going to make sure that you don't have to worry about anything until that end comes, and then we can split the money up. But Uber is saying, no, you don't get any money, and once the end comes, you get a little pocket change. And so attorneys aren't gonna take those cases, and then clients aren't gonna be able to have that good representation. They'll be forced to go on their own against Uber and all their attorneys, which is not a good situation where you're fighting a multi-billion-dollar company trying to get your just piece of change for the injury that they caused you. So just be aware of that. Know that there's a lot of information that's being put out there by Uber, by this big company saying, take away the attorneys from this process, and that just puts consumers in a bad situation. So definitely do your research before signing anything or agreeing to that type of proposal, okay? So that's all I have. Thank you guys so much for your time.
Can you give your office number?
Yeah. I have cards, so please afterwards just come get a card from me, and I'll be happy to talk about any thing you have. If you have friends, family that are in an accident or anything, please feel free to contact me. Let me know.
Any questions for Justice? No pressure, but I told Justice that you want to remember this name in this space. He is going to go very, very far. I've been so proud of him with Langston. So I was like young lawyer chair 20 years ago, and now they still told me I'm not a young lawyer anymore.
I didn't say that.
Justice didn't say that. But I am so proud of him. You just did 2 amazing events this year on top of being a lawyer and a husband and all those things. So I'm just so proud of you. I wanted to say that. So please make sure you get a card from Justice later, and thank you for everything.
Thank you.
I wanted to take a point of personal privilege really quickly. Our bishop is in the house, so Bishop Johnny Young, you weren't here earlier when we said thank you, and I also want to, we have another pastor in the house.